ちょっと待ってください。
Good evening.
こんばんは。
And we're on time.
今日は珍しく。We're
not late.
よかった。ちょっと紅茶入れます。
What are we doing?
紅茶入れます。
Yes. How are you, Hiromi?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay. It's busy time of year.
Right.
And the weather's getting cooler, of course, which is good for you, Hiromi.
Yes, I love it. もう夏が嫌いでね。暑いの苦手。もともと体温が高いからかもしれないけど。
I love the summer, but
I don't like a sticky one.
the sticky weather.
I don't like
Sticky.
weather.
Great, thank you.
このまたいただいた紅茶。
Same as last week.
違うやつです。
Oh, that's good.
うん。
That's good, isn't it?
うん。セイロンですね。
That's really nice.
いや、ちょっと話変わるんですけど、急にね、ごめんね。セッション2でノンターゲティングショプローチを、先生方に学んでいただいて、もう早速ね、こう実践していただいて、どうだったかみたいな反応もね、いただいてるんですけど、すごくいい感じです。で、私の個人のね、インスタグラムの方にも書いたんですけど、ノンターゲティングアプローチってすごくシンプルなんだけど、正直イージーじゃないっていうか、結構深いんだよね。だから、なんか分かったつもりなんだけど、なんか分かってないというかできてないっていうか、結構本当にしっかりアプローチしていかないと、そのノンターゲットのオポチュニティとかね、入れ方っていうのをミスしちゃうことがすごくあって。で、なんか改めてね、またうちの講座はリピート生もすごいたくさんいるんですけど、リピート生もなんか、リピートしてるのにまた新たに習ったようなぐらい気づきがあったって言ってくださったりとかして、でもよかったなと。うちね、ほら、リピート生がいるんですけど、なんでリピートするのってみんなに。
Yeah, it's a question people often ask, isn't it?
そうで、講座やってるのになんでリピートするのって、じゃあこの講座じゃもう全部学べないってことですかとかいろんな質問されるんだけど、学びを止めたくない先生はもちろんいるだろうし、もう一回聞くことは全然悪いことじゃないし、先生によって、生徒と一緒でね、学び方のスピードとか、理解の仕方とかも全然違うから、一応その講座内でできることはもう全部お伝えしますけど、あとはもう先生のペースでどうしたいかっていうことで、リピート生をね、リピートした人どうぞみたいな感じでいるんですけど、いや、なかなかね、面白いなと思って。
We often hear that repeaters, they repeat because the second time you hear it or go through the course again, it's a little bit different. And it's like, naruhodo, they get the same information, but their understanding of it is deeper now. And then the third time and fourth time, or however many. It's like when you watch a movie again.
また新たな気づきがある、
Yeah.
そう。いや、だから正直ね、講座も全部動画に撮ってるし、見たい先生はまたその講座も死ぬほどね、見ていただいていいんだけど、それでもやっぱり実際に受けることによってね、その時にいる先生の雰囲気とか質問とかにもよって、私たちも言ってなかったなとか、こういうことあるよってことって話せるからね、なんか勉強になってるみたいで、でもよかったな。
And the other thing is, it's just good fun.
今回ね、基本的に最初と最後だけは対面講座にしてたんだけど、やっぱりノンターゲティングは経験した方がいいよねってなって、セッション2も対面っていうかハイブリッドにしたのね。だけど、セッション3 対面ないんですかってやっぱ言われて、いや、まあ正直ほら、会場も予約してお金も払わなきゃいけないから、どうかなって、どのぐらい先生来るかなみたいな感じで言ったんだけど、まあもう今回はね、セッション3も対面でやろうかってことで、特別にやってるってこう緩い感じがね、申し訳ないなと思いつつ、でもね、
It's good.
そう、でもね、うちのね、事務局が言ってたんだけど、もちろん事務局は英語の先生ではないんだけど、なんかそこにいるだけですごく学んでるのね。
Yeah.
まあ、セッション1のことがすごいよくわかるようになってて。だからこう、なんだろう、全身で聞くと、また、ズームでこう聞くのと違ったりするのかなって思ったりしてね。いや、対面でやるってすごく大事だなと思いました。それでね、アプリフト生から関西来ないんですかって、来てほしいなって言っていただいて、でも随分行ってないもんね。一緒にね。だから、なんか行きたいなと思って今ちょっとスケジュールを確認しております。結構ね、笑けるぐらいビジーで、だからどうやって行くか、セッションで行くかも含め、今ちょっと考え中。だけど、行きたいなと思いますね。
I love getting on the Shinkansen and just going somewhere.
Right.
We used to go to Osaka very regularly. We used to go to Nagoya very regularly. And we used to enjoy it every time.
So
we always used to go to the same places, the same restaurants. We knew exactly where we wanted to go.
なんか正直さ、なんかこう出張行くと、まあ、そこでゆっくりしてるのがあったけど、全然ゆっくりしないのね。仕事で行ってるんだけど、でもそれでもやっぱり行って、
いい気分になるよ。
先生方と話したりね、セミナーやるのってすごい楽しかったし、なんかまあ、いつ行けるか、まあこれも考えなきゃいけないけど、こう、今アップリフト生がさ、もう北海道から九州までいるじゃない、なんかこう、てんてんにいろいろ行ってみたいよね。実際にね。どうですかなんつって行けたら楽しいかなと思いますけど。まあ、前も言ったように、9期に関しては、今までのスケジュールみたいな感じで、8期終わってすぐ、開催っていうことは今ちょっと考えてないんですけど、まあ、やるつもりではいますので、またスケジュールが決まったらね、お伝えしたいなと思います。Is it okay to talk about our new challenge? Is this October? なんかこの間が。
Maybe not yet. Maybe not yet. We have a new challenge planned.
So,
there will definitely be some changes to my work situation next year. And so,
いや、そうそう。まあ、話せるときにね、タイミングが来たら、ぜひシェアしたいと思うんですけど。
Yes, my work situation is making another big change. Another big challenge is coming up for us from next year.
まあ、めちゃくちゃ楽しみですね。まあ、
It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be quite hard, but very exciting. And I'm looking forward to some pretty amazing results. I know we're going to get them. So.
でもこうやってなんか常に新しいチャレンジができるっていうのはありがたいことだね。
So we'll give some more details about that as soon as we can. We really want to share it with you.
そう本当に。
It won't be long. Maybe next week. We'll see.
なのでそれも
はい、楽しみにしています。
はい。で、ちょっとその前に、お昼にね、ちょっと、あんまりしないんだけど、マスクのコロナの感染対策について、ちょっとこんな情報がありましたよっていうことで、まあ、知ってる先生も多かったと思うんですけど、まあ、知らない先生もいらっしゃるかなと思って、まあ、情報までに参考までにっていうことで送らせてもらったんですけど、結構フィードバックいただきまして、ありがとうございますっていうお礼の言葉とかスタンプとかいただいて、 送ってよかったなと思いました。あんまりそういうのね、こっちからやるのどうかなとも思ったんですけど、まあなかなか、
Well, I think it is important information to go out because there are those teachers or people who really feel it's time to stop wearing a mask, but they feel a lot of pressure.
そうね。
But if you have this information, then maybe you can tell yourself, okay, well, it's okay to take off my mask and
まあちょっと
don't worry about the
考えて
pressure.
ほしいなっていう、ね。
そう。
で特にね、私心配してるのは子供たちなのね。
Of course.
あ、この話してないね。
何の
my daughter called.
そう。
いいか。話さなくて。いや、なかなか、うちの娘は、特に次女はね、非常に私と似ているところがあって、なんだろう。
She's very happy when we tell her she's like her mum, but she's not very happy when we tell her she's like me.
いや、っていうか、
She's like, I don't want to be like Papa, I want to be like Mama. That's what she says.
なんか質問の仕方とかが、すごく私に似てるのね。なんか多分、セッションとか、コンサルとかを聞いてることがあるからかもしれないけど。
そうかもね。
なんかね、質問。
She should be a consultant, maybe.
そう。質問の仕方がなかなかコーチっぽくてね。いい質問をするよね。します。まあ、それもいつか話そうかな。はい。
でね、this evening's topic, Halloween and other cultural events. The reason we chose Halloween this evening is because, like everybody, like all of us, we too are getting ready for
今ね、準備で忙しい先生すごい多いんじゃないかなと思いますけどね。
getting ready for Halloween parties, Halloween topics, Halloween decorations are up in our room already. And to be honest with you, Halloween is one of my least favorite
ずっと言ってるね。
events. And even the kids, some of them like it, but some of them don't.
あ、そう。
Yeah.
まあね。いや、でもほら、私が小さい時にはなかったからね。
やはり。
なかった。なんか記憶をたどると、ディズニーランドができてからなんじゃないかなっていう気がする。
なるほど。That makes kind of sense,
イベントパレードとかさ、デコレーションとかわっとやって、で、なんかそういう CM とか出るじゃない。あれ何みたいな感じから始まったような記憶が、まあちょっと私の記憶だからあれだけどね。まあ、少なくとも学校でやったりとかいうことはなかったし。
I mean, I know a lot of teachers who love Halloween. That's great. Good. And they would say, it's fun.
Yeah.
And great, I guess it is. I just don't have fun in the same way as other people, maybe. But
ほら、コスチューム着たりとかさ、今年どうしようとかね。
Yeah. When you've had 27 years of experience teaching, and you have to think of costumes for 27 parties, it's a headache every year. But luckily this year, I'm allowed to wear the same costume as last year. So
でも
all taken care of.
毎年変える先生もいれば、もうハロウィンはこれって決まってる先生もいるじゃん。決めてもいいよね。
That's fine. That's great. So because I have this relationship with Halloween, I decided maybe I should look into the history of it and maybe find out a little bit more deeply about it. Maybe I'm only looking at it from the surface level, and maybe I could find some reasons to enjoy it if I just knew a little bit more about it. So we've spent a couple of hours looking at the history of Halloween, and to be fair,
まあ先生方も知ってると
多分知ってると思うんですけども、なんとなくもう聞いたんですけども、the history of it is actually more interesting than the event itself.
そうね。
The history of it's quite pretty.
なんかほら、児童英語の先生たちはほらハロウィンに対してすごくファミリアだし、そのハロウィンに対するの出てくるいわゆるボキャブラリーとかもさ、子供に教えたりとかよく知ってるじゃない？だけどよく電車とかに乗ってて一般のその若者たちが 話してるの、ハロウィンが近くなるとさ、ハロウィンの話するじゃない。ハロウィンイコール仮装パーティーみたいになってて、で、ほら、ジャコランタンっていうのも言葉知らなかったり、かぼちゃの仮装パーティーみたいなさ、なんかいうの。なんかかぼちゃがあって、なんか仮装するやつでしょみたいな、なんかすごくこう、ハロウィン自体が、なんだろうな、なんかもともと意味がなくなっちゃってるっていうのがあってね。まあ、それはそれでいいのかもしれないけど、でも、いろんな思いでやる人がいるじゃない、国によってはね。でね、私聞いたんだけど、日本のハロウィンパーティーって、特に渋谷のスクランブル交差点の、ハロウィンってものすごいなんか海外でも有名で、スクランブル交差点うわーって仮装した人たちが歩くとか言ってさ、そのためだけに日本に来る外国人がいるって。
I wouldn't be surprised. I've never been.
行きたくないね。もう、ほら、DJ ポリスとかなんか行ってさ、なんか、ノリよくアナウンスとかしてるけど、もう若くないしね。でもなんかすごいね、その日本のハロウィンっていうのもなんかまた独自の文化ができてるみたいなとこがあって。
I think the reason I developed this not very positive relationship with Halloween was because when for a start, in Australia, we don't really have it for kids. Maybe now because of, I don't know, maybe the culture has changed a bit, but 27 years ago, we didn't have it in Australia. And so when I came to Japan, it was a first for me. And I remember, I'll never forget my very first Halloween party. And I was quite self-conscious about it because dressing up is not my thing anyway. And my costume was Wally. Waldo, you know, like, where's Wally? You have to find Wally. You know, that character, Wally or Sagasuno, Wally was my costume. I'd had, well, my glasses were already red anyway. I think I had red glasses at the time. I'm not sure if Wally's glasses are black. I think they're black. But I had red. I had a red and white T-shirt. I had like a beanie, a winter cap on. And I was carrying a stick and we had lots of books. And I went to the party. And one of the students' dads said to me, "Where's your costume?"
あまりにもまんますぎたんじゃない全然変身してる感じがしなかったんじゃない
And I was like, "This is my costume. I'm Wally." And now if you have to tell somebody what your character is, then it's not a good
costume.
Not a good costume. So I felt so self-conscious from day one. My very first Halloween party experience was, "Where's your costume?" And I'm wearing it.
あまりにもさ、ストライプでジーンズかなんか知らないけど、普通のスーツじゃない普通のデイリークローズに見えちゃったんじゃない？
そう。
I remember when I went to the elementary school for the very first time. And then one of the teacher told me, actually, Ida 先生 told me, I asked him, so マシュ先生どういう方ですかって聞いたの。だからオーストラリアでとかいろんな説明があると思ってね。そしたらね、ウォーリーみたいな先生って言われたんだよ。ウォーリーみたいな。ウォーリーですかみたいな。あったらわかるよみたいな感じで。だから私も実は。で、
初めて会った時に、ウォーリーだって思った。マジで
細いしメガネがこうね、かけてたしさ。なるほどって思ったのを覚えてる。そうだったのね。最初ウォーリーはちょっとあまりにもまんまだったんじゃない？私ね、実はないんだよ。
何や？
コスチューム着たことが子供たちの前で。
デ
コレーションはすごいしたのね、幼稚園とかさ。だけど、コスチューム着たことがない。
So you've never bought a Halloween costume?
No.
すごいね。
ちょっと今思うと変だよね。
All right, so shall we talk about this thing called Halloween?
まあ私は学校が多かったからか。学校幼稚園がね。はい。
So we're going to have a look together, explore a little bit of the history of it, and I'm sure there's nothing really new.
Right.
The most interesting thing about Halloween is the way it's changed. And there's a few key words to keep in mind. And if you want to jot them down, by all means do. First of all, we're going to look at when and why trick-or-treating. Trick-or-treating, we're going to look at that. We're going to look at jack-o'-lanterns, why and how they developed and when. We're going to look at costumes and when they started changing.
Right.
And trick-or-treating, jack-o'-lanterns, and haunted houses for kids. Right? The idea of like you make a haunted house for kids to experience and go through. Because they're all parts of the history. And I'm wondering, please don't Google it. Stay with us so that we can enjoy this journey together. But those couple of things there, trick-or-treating, jack-o'-lanterns, haunted houses, and the costumes. And what order do you think they came in its history? Which came first?
Oh, that's interesting.
Which came first? So to answer that, we're going to have to go right back. And as we all probably know, this festival called Halloween is very, very old. It's very old. In fact, it can be traced back almost 2,000 years. That's quite a long time ago, considering it's 2020. So it's actually quite an easy number to kind of wrap your head around.
Right.
It's 2,000 years ago, and it began in what we now know as Ireland, but also in the UK and also the north of France. There were a group of people by the name of Celts. The Celts. They lived in the area that is now Ireland, UK, and northern France, and they marked a point in time during the year between autumn and the autumn equinox and winter solstice. Is that right? No aida desu. And they called it Samhain. Samhain. During this time of year, fires in the family homes were left to burn while the harvest was gathered, and they would have massive bonfires. Yeah, massive bonfires, and they would pray.
Pray for
a good harvest, I think. Now, they believed that the barrier between the living and the non-living was breachable. You could cross that barrier during this event, Samhain, which sounds a bit like Obon, doesn't it? Samhain. S-A-M-H-A-I-N.
そうなんだ。それ知らなかった。こうなんかつながるのは知ってたけど、その名前知らなかった。
And it was expected that their ancestors, the people who were not in this world anymore, might cross over and come into the living world during this time. And so the Celtic people, the Celts, they would dress up as animals and monsters so that the fairies were not tempted to come and kidnap them. It was protection. So that's kind of the ritual that happened for the next 1,000 years. And then in the 10th century, the festival Samhain is Christianized.
Right.
Christianity as a religion takes part in this takes hold in this part of the world, and particularly the Catholic Church.
Right.
So what they did, the Catholic Church basically wanted to control celebrations and festivals and make them more, make the religion more adapt into the tradition.
Right.
So November the 1st, even now on the Catholic Church's calendar, November the 1st is called All Saints' Day. All Saints' Day.
Right.
The Catholic Church believe that every day is a day of a saint.
Right.
And in fact, in France, they still celebrate your Saint Day. My name is Matthew. Saint Matthew, I believe, is September 21st. Saint Matthew's Day. Every day has a Saint's Day. And Saint Matthew's Day is on September the 21st, I believe. And so in France, they celebrate both your birthday, but also your Saint's Day.
Right. I see.
November the 1st is the All Saints' Day, when all saints in the calendar are celebrated. That's where the name Halloween comes in.
Right.
Because hallow means holy.
Right.
Holy, holy, what's that in Japanese? You know, religiously special. なんだっけ?
Holy は清いっていうか、saint って意味でしょ？
そう、とっても重要な、religious なんだっけ？宗教的な日です。So that's called holy. So hallow means holy. And een means evening.
なるほど。
So it's a holy evening. That's why October 31st, which is the evening before All Saints' Day, is a holy evening.
Right.
So the name kind of turned into Halloween after that. Right, and that's November 1st, All Saints' Day. November 2nd was also a new festival created by the Catholic Church called All Souls' Day.
Souls' Day.
Which is also to celebrate the deceased, the people who are not with us anymore. So you've got All Saints' Day on November the 1st, All Souls' Day, and then October 31st, still this Celtic tradition called Samhain. So they tried to replace the Celtic festival with a church-related holiday called All Souls' Day on November the 2nd. They thought they'd try and replace it, but it didn't really work. Right. So that's kind of how the name changed. And of course, as the name changed and with the name change and traditions evolving and cultural influences and deeper stories and stuff, they wanted to like put some new signals, new symbols into the event. So, which do you think came first? Trick-or-treating, jack-o'-lanterns, costumes, and what was the other thing we said? And haunted houses for kids.
Haunted house for kids. Haunted house for kids ってそうなの？ハロウィンの。
Yeah.
なるほどね。
I mean, our schools create haunted houses.
Samhain だっけ？なんだっけ？
Samhain
みたいなものが先に来てるとするならば、コスチュームが先なんじゃないの？でも、トリックオアトリートなのかな？どうだと思います皆さん。
実は、はい、trick or treating. Trick or treating starts to become an event within the evening.
Right.
Okay, now please remember, this has not gone to America yet. I think most of us have this Americanized image of Halloween, but this is well before it's gone to America.
Right.
And it began in England and Ireland during All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day celebrations. Poor people would visit the houses of the rich or wealthier families, and they would get these little cakes. And they were called soul cakes. In exchange for a promise to pray for the relatives of the rich people. So we will pray for your relatives if you give us a cake. はい。And this became known as souling, going around getting cakes and, okay, I'll pray for your family souls.
それが先？
それ先です。This is in the 10th century, or the Middle Ages, so it's like the 15th century.
Right.
And
最初だからいわゆるボンファイアみたいなことをやっていて、お祈りしてたんでしょ。そう。で、結局そのお祈りから、今度は、貧しい人たちが、リッチピーポーのところに食べ物をもらいに代わりにお祈りします。そう。で、later, that idea and that thing would be taken up by children. Children would do it. Right. Children would go to other people's houses. Yeah, that's right. They would go from door to door asking for gifts such as food, money, and beer. Ale. 書いてありますね。はい。So that's to answer your question, trick or treating came first. でも trick.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Yes. But the idea of going door to door and getting things was an early form of trick or treating. Then in the 19th century, which is only 200 years ago, right, jack-o'-lanterns. My image is that jack-o'-lanterns are really, really old, like around the early times.
なんかこう、autumn のそのハーベストに関わる、
そう。
なんか Thanksgiving じゃないけど、なんかそういうね、ところから。
Yeah, I would have thought jack-o'-lanterns came well before trick-or-treating, but it didn't. They weren't. They came only in recent history, only 200 years ago. Jack-o'-lanterns. This began in Ireland and Scotland around the 1800s. They began carving a face in pumpkins. No, not in France. Because there was a very famous guy whose name was Stingy Jack, he was a legend who tricked the devil and then was forced to roam the earth with only a burning coal and a turnip to light his way. So there's this guy, a legend called Jack. And so that's how the name Jack-o'-lantern, Jack's lantern perhaps. And then people began making their own versions by carving scary faces and placing them in windows or doors to frighten away the wandering evil spirits.
なるほど。そうじゃあジャックさんが発明したっていうか、ジャックさんがやったからジャコラって、ね。そうです。
And then around that time, Halloween comes to America. And that's where a lot of the obviously commercialization of it happened later, and a lot of the traditions were more fossilized. Yeah.
Trick or treat があって、ジャックランタンがあってからアメリカに入ったってことね。
そうです。I kind of thought, all right, jack-o'-lanterns happened first, trick-or-treating happened in America と思ったんですけど、そうじゃない。はい。
なんかキャンディーっていうイメージがでしょ。
そう。絶対 an American tradition と思った。
お菓子っていうか、スイーツね。
Probably developed by the candy industry. かなと思ったんですけど、そうじゃない。でね、actually, Halloween began very slowly in America. It wasn't taken on quickly. It wasn't really accepted because the majority of the American population at the time were not Catholic. They were Protestant. So they didn't believe in saints. The saint concept is a Catholic concept. So they kind of rejected anything on All Saints Day. So they saw no reason to celebrate Halloween. It wasn't. そう。宗教は違うから。But at the same later that century, there was a big problem in Ireland called the potato famine, which meant there was very little food, and a lot of people were starving in Ireland, and they had to get out. They had to flee the lack of food situation there, and so a lot of Irish went to America and spread right through America, taking the tradition of Halloween with it and throughout America. So that helped popularize the celebration of Halloween nationally. And they did the same things as they did in their homelands, especially like pulling tricks and like putting jokes on neighbors and stuff. In the late 1800s, Halloween tricks included turning upside farmers' wagons, turning them upside down, pushing over toilets and things like that. Now, so they used to play tricks on each other.
Right.
Which is not a very Japanese thing to do at all.
No.
But it's a very kind of Western kind of thing. But of course, with that came violence. And in America, with the 20th century, with like the 1900s, when you come into that, which is only 100 years ago, Halloween became linked with social unrest and violence. Physical assaults, vandalism, acts of violence all happened on Halloween. It was a celebration to run amok and go crazy. That started about 100 years ago. Well, conditions socially were quite harsh. Frustrationをリリースして、そう。It's a very Western concept. Just to be violent for no reason.
そういうこと言わない。まあでも、
そうだよ。
violence に出るのはちょっとそうかもね。日本にはあまりない感じ。
あんまりない。考えられないでしょ。
ない。
But even so, if you party too hard, there's going to be problems. And, and maybe in Japan too, when some of the non-Japanese members of society perhaps get a bit carried away on Halloween, drink a little too much. Trouble sometimes can happen. When there's too much excitement and alcohol's mixed, and people lose their feeling of common sense, then things can possibly happen.
Right.
Hey, so Ashtara in the late 1930s, to keep the kids safe during Halloween, because of that, the adults decided we need to keep our kids safe on Halloween, so they decided the concept of a haunted house. Because it was organized.
Right.
The parents would build a haunted house for the kids to enjoy and feel excitement with.
Haunted house にする必要があったのかな?
Yes, spooky public attractions. That's where things like the haunted house happened in like amusement parks. You'll always have a haunted house section. So it became an organized, scary experience for the kids. Hey.
なるほど。
Parents concerned about their children going crazy on Halloween's organized haunted houses.
ハンテッドハウスの中で楽しみなさい。
そう。
外出たりするとちょっと変な大人がいないよってことね。
そうです。はい。
どんなのしてたんだろうね。まあ驚かしたりするんだよね。
Yeah. In fact, in 1915, there was already a British amusement ride, which was a very early haunted house, complete with dim lights, shaking floors, and screams and stuff like that. Hey.
でもさ、怖いことしなくていいのにね。
You just don't like it.
私ダメ。意味がわからない。私本当嫌いなんだよね。
そういうね。
怖いのね。
The last big development of Halloween became the costumes.
なるほど。
In the 1950s, Halloween costumes changed. They became more mainstream. They became more characters, not just scary icons.
でも最初はscary icons。
最初はscary icons だった。
それがやっぱりあれなのかな、ハロウィンのものがなるべく子供に向けるように、ホーンテッドハウスもそうだし、あまりにも大人がやるとクレイジーだから、子供向けにってした結果そうなったのかな。
そうだと思うよ。It's pretty hard to go be violent if you're wearing a Batman costume, right? Or if you're wearing, right, a Mickey Mouse costume, you're not going to throw a rock through a window, are you?
Yeah.
そうだと思うよ。
なるほどね。
Costumes and disguises changed. It wasn't until the mid-20th century, that is about 50 years ago, that costumes started to look like as we know today.
50年前。
そ
やっぱりそうよね。
そ
まだ新しいよね。
They changed it around the same time that communities started organizing haunted houses for kids to keep the kids safe and occupied. Costumes became more important, less abstract, less scary, and they became to take the form of things that kids would have liked. Characters from popular comics and movies, particularly Disney. でしょ？
あと、American Comics ね。
Yep.
Spider-Man とかね。
Spider-Man, Superman. And then, particularly in the 1950s, mass-produced box costumes became cheaper, more available.
Right.
And so kids used to began to get dressed up as princesses, clowns, or Batman and other characters. So that's kind of really how it developed.
なるほどね。だからなんかこう大人がやってたのを子供向けにして、でだんだん子供がやるからだんだん怖いものじゃなくて子供が好きなものになってきて、でまた今度はそれが大人にインフルエンスして大人もそういうコスチュームになってきた感じなのかな、楽しもうみたいな感じなのかな。
Yeah.
なるほど。なんとなく知ってたけど、こうやって見るとなるほどって思うね。面白いね。
面白いよね。
面白い面白い。
Then there was one fairly major development to Halloween. This is kind of what we've just explored together here is how Halloween changed into the form of what we know. But there was one more, not such a positive event that happened that also changed Halloween again. Can you think of what that might be? Well, think about when kids go knocking on neighbors' doors to ask for chocolate and candy. There are some sinister people out there. And so in the late, so maybe 40 years ago, 30 years ago, there were more concerns about kids' safety.
Right.
And in the late 80s, there were a number of physical attacks on kids involving poisoned candy in America. So the practice of trick-or-treating took like on a turn, and so it became a little bit less popular. The parents were more worried about it. The parents would accompany the kids, whereas in previous generations the kids went on by themselves. So there was, so that kind of changed the dynamics of Halloween as a social event in the neighborhood.
なるほど。今はじゃあそんなに trick or treat しないのかな?
I think they do, but the parents are probably very wary. They'll say things like maybe don't accept any candy that's not wrapped. It's not in its original package.
やっぱり知ってる人の家しか行かない。
So only go, they may organize, you go to that house, this house, this house, this, but no other houses. They may be organized, the community would organize themselves. Okay, I'll be a trick-or-treater house, I'll be a trick-or-treater house. So the pet would organize it in advance. そういうことだよね。
なんかね、ニューヨークに住んでる時に、ニューヨークってほら11種が多いじゃない。
そうね。
で、うちのマンションってそれこそこう秋になると、まあハロウィンもやるし、クリスマスもあるし、ハヌカキャンドルも飾ってるみたいな感じがあって、でその時にそのマンションのところになんていうかな、ドアマンが、とクラークがいつもいるんだけど、ハロウィンの時にもうすっごいいっぱいキャンディーを持ってんのよ。で、すごいいっぱいあるから、これはって言ったら、子供たちが来た時にあげるようなんですって言って用意してたんだよね。だからこんなマンションにも来るんだと思って。そう。思い出すね。
いいね。
いや、ニューヨーク面白かったね、住んでる時。もう文化がぐちゃぐちゃ。アメリカじゃないもんね、あそこね。だからハロウィンパーティーもすごかったね。
Yeah, they were.
パレードがね。
そう。
なるほど。
So that's basically it. Now.
でもさ、なんか子供にそうやってさ、毒を盛る大人とかいるのがもうちょっと日本では信じられないね。
Well.
まあそれで連れて行っちゃったりとかってこと。
Yeah. Do you remember? It wasn't Halloween, but there was a poisoning in a curry at a festival. Remember?
あれはそうです。
Yeah. So it's not entirely out of the question, but yeah, when it involves kids, it's terrible, isn't it? Well, people anyway. But in 1974, a Texas man gave poisoned candy sticks to 5 children, including his own son. The other kids never ate it, but his son did, and his son died.
Oh.
It was in 1974. And then in the early 80s, there was a rash of other poisonings, so it became a bit of a security threat. Trick or treating. 残念。はい。
なるほど。
So that's the kind of, and having studied that and looked at that, I'm all right maybe with.
それを知ったら
Well, it's a very old cycle of celebration, which is in itself quite interesting.
Right.
It's めんどくさい, but you can't say it's not interesting.
Right.
絶対面白いと思う。
でもやっぱこうやって思うと、もともとそのケルトから始まって、でキャスリックのイベントになって、それがどっちかというとこうイベント、religious の色がないイベントになって、いろんな国にこう回ってるっていう感じだよね。
Interesting little bit of culture there for you, isn't it? How something like that can spread throughout the world.
そうだから結局あんまりその歴史を考えずイベントとして楽しんでるっていう感じだよね。きっとね。
While we were at it, we also looked at Halloween around the world. What were you going to say?
いや、なんかこう、ほら、日本はさ、宗教あんまり気にしないし、関係ないし、楽しいこと大好きっていう感じだけど、こうやってみると、例えばプロテスタントの国でもこのハロウィンが入ってくるっていうのが、ちょっと不思議な感じがする、
そうね。
ヒストリーは置いといてって完全に切ってるってことだよね。
Yeah.
なるほど、なるほど。
And yes, Halloween is celebrated around the world in similar but also somewhat different ways.
そう。
And we looked at that.
スペインとかってどうだったっけな?
I didn't see Spain as a country for which I have any information. When I looked it up, the first country that came was the original countries. In Ireland, for example, let's go back to the original countries. How do they celebrate it today? Because if you remember, it was called Samhain. Yeah,
between the
that's
living
right.
world and non-living world.
In Ireland, the city of Dublin, which is its capital, they have a Samhain parade every year. They eat special food, mashed potatoes mixed with kale or cabbage. That's quite nice. Sweet bread, dried fruits are the traditional foods. In Scotland, sausage has been a traditional Scottish Samhain food for a very, very long time.
それのなんか食べ物があるんだね。
And so sausage rolls for everyone. And there's a big fire festival every year in Edinburgh.
Right.
Then the next country on the list on this particular homepage is Japan.
Japan.
How does Japan celebrate it? Well, apparently,
そうだね、川崎
yes,
スタートだったね。
there's a massive Kawasaki Halloween parade. Now,
right.
maybe you may feel I'm a little bit ignorant, but I didn't know that.
あ、そう。
I thought the big Halloween party was in Shibuya.
あ、川崎先だった。
そうか。
なんか最初ね、そんなに盛り上がってなかったのよ。
あ、そう。
もうすごいなんかちょっとずつやって盛り上がったイメージがある。
Around the world, Halloween is generally for kids, but not in Japan. Where
可愛い文化が。
そう。Halloween celebrations have a definite adult overtone.
まあこれだよね。日本の子供向けじゃないっていうね。
There's no trick or treating, but there's plenty of cosplay and plenty of parties. Halloween celebrations cause chaos in Tokyo every year.
なんか
They use the word chaos. Now, I've never been. I haven't seen it, but it does sometimes appear on the news, doesn't it?
渋谷とかさ、
すごいんですね。
一番最初の頃とか本当危なかったもんね。もうすっごい汚いし、すれ違う人同士でセクハラがあったとか、なんかもうなんか、しかも大人とかティーンエイジャーとかさ、絶対子供歩けないっていう、完全に大人中心のものだったよね。でもなんかこういうふうにさ、英語のサイトにさ、日本が3つ目に来てケオスって書かれるとちょっとnot for children
Not for children
but
and it's
adults
chaos.
って言われたらなんかちょっと恥ずかしい気がしちゃうのね。でも確かに子供街中見ると子供より大人が楽しんでるよね。
そう。
はい。
The most prestigious Halloween event in Japan is the Kawasaki Halloween Parade, featuring around 4,000 costumed people. Now, you can't just join that day. You can't just throw on your costume and join the party. You have to apply. You make an application at least 2 months in advance.
日本っぽいね。今年どうなんだろうね。全然知らないけどね。
どうなんだろうね。去年もどうだった？
いや、コロナだったし、どうなんだろう。ちょっとテレビがないからわからない。
わかんないね。Hey, Italy has a similar celebration of Halloween. It's called Ognisanti, which means All Saints Day.
Right. 読み方合ってんのかね。
I think so. Maybe no G. Ognisanti.
わかんない。
Hey, same thing. The thinking is that on this day, which is November the 1st and November the 2nd, the spirits come back to Earth and they visit their relatives. People decorate cemeteries with flowers. They leave food out for the visiting spirits. It sounds like Obon, doesn't it?
でもやっぱりどこの国もその
feeling があるよね。
亡くなった人へのね。弔いみたいなのあるよね。
Yeah. In some parts of Italy, parents give presents to their kids on behalf of their deceased relatives, almost like a miniature Christmas.
Right. なるほどね。
Now, of course, very famous. Let's change countries. Where are we going?
こっちから行きたいな。
Okay. Let's go to Guatemala, which is in Central America. They also have a Day of the Dead, a giant kite festival. いいね。
Kite festival.
見たいね。ちょっと待って。That sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm just going to Google that and maybe get some pictures. Right. Oh, wow. すげえ。
うわ、すごい。
Isn't that fantastic?
すごい綺麗だね。メキシコの南の方だもんね。
Yeah, Guatemala.
なるほどね。
すごいね。Big kites.
すごい綺麗ね。
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
初めて知ったね。
They build giant, brightly colored kites from local natural materials and fly them in the cemeteries. It's an ancient Mayan custom. It goes back 3,000 years. So it's older than Halloween itself.
そうだね。なるほど。
So the Mayans were the first, not the Celts.
そうだね。なんと。
But of course, the tradition was a Celtic tradition. That the version that spread around the world was the Celtic one.
まあでもやっぱりその 死んだ人に対するいろんなイベントっていうのはさ、昔からどこでもあるかもしれないし、日本だってね、そうじゃない、そのお盆もそうだけどさ。すごいね。ちょっとガテマラのは楽しそうです
ね。
なんか作りたいみんなで。
すごいすごい。But it's not everywhere. It's only in the towns of Santiago, Zacatepeques, and Zumpango that's celebrated. I think I'm pronouncing it okay.
まあ、皆さん、気になる方はね、調べていただいて。
And then, of course, the famous one is in Mexico.
そう。これはね、
The Day of the Dead. すごいね。
知ってた。
Have you seen the movie Remember Me? I saw it recently. I saw it in the summer for the first time.
なんていう様?
I did. I hadn't seen it before.
一緒に見たよ、子供たち。あ、じゃあ私だけ見せたんだ。
I saw a little bit of it with the kids, but I didn't see the whole thing. And it's pretty good, isn't it?
なかなかいい映画ね。
And yes, the colors of that parade, that celebration. And of course, you won't find any Batman or Superman or princesses there. It's all pretty scary. Skeletons, ghosts, witches, that kind of imagery. That's what they're going for.
じゃないな。死んでる人のイメージ
だよね。そう。本当に、and all these like floats and parades and すごいね。
そう、Remember Me にも出てくるし。で、それが A Day of the Dead ってやつね。
Again, same dates. Isn't it interesting? All happens to be
similar time of the year.
なんかあるでしょ、絶対。November the 1st and the 2nd. Mexico, a colorful fusion of traditional indigenous customs and European traditions. It's a 2-day celebration of ancestors and deceased family members. According to legend, November the 1st and the 2nd, the spirits of the dead come back to visit their families. Again, it's the same story. The living celebrate them with flowers, festival sweets, and images of skulls and skeletons. They have picnics, light candles in cemeteries, while images of death are everywhere. It's important to understand it's not a scary or a sad holiday. It's a celebration of life. Both past and present. It's a good approach, isn't it? Very healthy. いいですね。
そうそう。なんか、ハロウィンいいんだけどね。なんかこう、私、イメージ的にこう、メキシコの方の、Day of the Dead とか、その、グアテマラのカイトみたいなのが、なんか、いいな。
Yeah.
個人的にはね。
Yeah.
なんかこうイベントであるんだったらその方が面白いなって思う。でね、なんかちなみになんですけど、これですっごい古い本で、私が実際に小学校とかで教えている時に使ってた本なんだけど、皆さん結構ね、これ有名な本だから持ってるんじゃないかな。ね、持ってるんじゃないかなと思う。ちなみにこれいつのなんだろうな。ちょっと今、あまりにも古いからさ、書いてないかな、どっかに。year 書いてないかな、published year。
1997。
そう、もう何年やってんだっていう。そうだよね。1997年にパブリッシュされている、DK 出版って皆さんね、知ってる教育の出版とかで多いと思うんですけど、こういう本があるんですよ。Celebration Children Just Like Me シリーズの Celebration っていうのがあって、で、今お伝えしたように1997年の本なので、今latest version 出てるはず絶対。
出てるはずよ。
絶対出てる。ちょっとまた買い直そうかなと思って、なんか変わってると面白いなと思ったけど、このね、ちなみにね、これも 古い。これはまだ買い直したやつかな
Yes, there are new versions as
そう
well.
だよね。
There are.
なんか私実はこの一番それこそ1997年8年ぐらいのやつを持っててまた買い直してやったこ
It's a
の
great book.
うん、これねあった方がいいね教室に。
そうそうそう。
ぜひ持っててほしいなと思うんですけど、実際の子どもたちを多分インタビューして、その子の紹介、いろんな国のこの子どもたちなんだけど、国の紹介点をそこの国に住んでいる何歳のなんとかくんの話みたいな感じで、書いてあるので、結構子どもたちにとって国というよりもね、そこにある一人の子として見るのには、あんまりステレオタイプにならなくていいなっていう本なんですけど、この Children Just Like Me のセレブレーションがね、なかなか面白くて。
Yeah, one thing I don't like about studying culture, overseas cultures, other countries' cultures, is that it tends to be very generalized and stereotypical. They eat blah, 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 blah.
そうそうそう。それがね、ちょっとね。
But you can overcome that hurdle with a book like this because you can say, この子は、right.
どこどこに住んでるこの子のお家ではこういうふうにしてるよ、みたいな感じが出るので、ちなみにね、もちろん日本の、ごめんね。
What's his name?
これ子供なんだけど、これはね、
カズ。lives in Osaka.
そう、4歳のカズっていう子の、日本に住むカズっていう子は子供の日こんなふうにしてるよっていうふうにあるので、日本のとこ見るとね、よくわかると思う。こういうのやるよねって、でもやらないよねとかにもあったりすると思うんだけど、この子がこういうふうにしてるよっていうアプローチがね、すごく私は好きなんですよ。日本はっていうとちょっと、なんかね、エリアによって違うじゃんとかなるので、大阪に住んでいる4歳の家族のところではこんな風にやってるよみたいな感じのが世界中でいろいろあるっていう感じなんですよ。で、オータムのところではいくつか、もちろんハロウィンの話があるんですけど、ここでは、カナダに住んでるアレックス君はハロウィンこんな風に過ごしてるよみたいな感じでね、こんな感じで出てたりします。で、私ね、これでね、私知ってたのよ。このメキシコ。これね。これ。The Day of the Dead ってやつ。これね、ぜひ先生方も見てほしいなと思う。すごくね、綺麗なんだよね。スカウとかスケルトンとか、があるんだけど、なんか、こういうデコレーション、ちょっとしたいなって思った。
Isn't that fantastic?
す
ごいね。
なんか普通のハロウィンじゃなくてこういうの面白そうだな。
素晴らしい。
そうそう。
ね
いや、ちょっとこれ買い直そう。ふんる。これ全部、今どのぐらい出てるんだろうね。
They have been updated on a fairly regular basis. I think you'll find you've missed about
結構ミスして。もうだって
5 or 6 different reprints.
そうなんだって。だってさ、97年の本を使ってレッスンしてたんだ、
ね。I think there's also a homepage. Children Just Like Me.
そう。もう今デジタルの時代だから、ね。
そう。
でもね、当時さ、この本はすごくありがたかったんだよ。
Yeah.
なかったもん
ね。Very original ideas, isn't it?
はい。でね、私これ、向こうで買ったのかなじゃないかな日本で買ったのかな覚えてないんだけど。でもロンドンだもんね。DK 出版って。ロンドンのが書いてあるから、向こうで買ったような気がするんだけど。なかなかね、当時その国際理解教育やるときに、こういうのが良かったんだよね。
そう。
リスニングアクティビティとかやってたもんね。
Yeah.
そう。
And speaking of cultural stereotypes, you cannot imagine how many times, as an Australian living in Japan, I've been asked or my confirmation has been sort of that at Christmas, Santa comes to Australia on a surfboard. Now,
Santa surfing してるんでしょって必ず言われる。
Yeah. Now, I'd never heard of that.
日本に来るまでは
That approach until I came to Japan. In Australia, we've never said that Santa comes
on a
on a surfboard. Like the British tradition, or the American tradition, or the European tradition, Santa, if you still believe in him, comes with, I think it's 12 reindeers. It might be different. And a sleigh that flies through the sky. Now, admittedly, yes, it's hot in Australia. It's summer. But Santa doesn't visit just Australia. He goes all over the world. So he can't come to Australia on a surfboard because he's got other places to visit, all in like one evening, Christmas Eve.
だからなんかオーストラリアに行くときちょっとクローズチェンジみたいな感じになっちゃうもんね。
That's kind of what it implies. And we're like, huh?
オーストラリアにニュージーランド行くときはちょっと洋服変えようみたいな感じ。
He doesn't come on a surfboard. But of course, there've been like maybe photos circulating of young people on Christmas Day because it's a holiday.
Right.
What do young people go? It's hot. What do? They go to the beach. They get on their boards and they might be wearing a Santa hat or a Santa suit because it's funny.
Yeah.
And so people take photos, tourists take photos of that and go, see, Santa comes on a surfboard.
まあクリスマス暑いからね、ビーチに行って、まあ、クリスマスだしって言ってサンタキャのハットかぶってるだけっていうだけなんだよね。でもなんかすごく多いよね。
Yeah, some funny guy will be wearing a Santa hat and a Santa beard and he's on his board, right? Because it's funny.
This is Australia.
This is Australia. Santa comes with surfboard. So that has really taken off. That myth, urban myth, has taken off in Japan. It's certainly not what we know at all. I mean, yeah, it is a bit weird to see in the middle of summer Christmas decorations involving snow.
そうそう。なんか不思議な感じだよね。私もクリスマスの時にオーストラリアに行った時に、そうそう。クリスマスツリーがあるんだけど、ちょっと雪が乗ってる。
Right.
あれって、でも、まあ、
and frosted windows and stuff like that.
暑いんだけどね。なかなか面白いなと思ったね。
So we never really changed the traditional Christmas
into a summer
version. The imagery remains the same.
Right.
But of course, the climate is very different. So Christmas does tend to be, we'll have a Christmas dinner. But in my family, Christmas was always a barbecue. In later years. I think at home, when we were living as a family together, we would still have a Christmas dinner. But I think as we all became adults with our own families, my brothers and sisters, I think, still get together on Christmas Day and they'll have a barbecue at my sister's place.
Right.
Christmas barbecue.
で、なんか、ほら、マッシュの場合は、こう、オランダっぽいお祝いがあるから、なんか私はいつもこう、自分の名前の first letter のチョコレートを食べるっていうイメージがある。
Yes, because, and that's not a Christmas thing.
Oh.
My parents are from Holland. So the big day in our house was December the
26th.
No. December the 5th, which is St. Nicholas Day. As we said before earlier, in the Catholic calendar,
これだ。
そうなんです。これだよ。
これ。ちょっと見せるね。
St. Nicholas.
そうそう。クリスマスじゃないんだよ。セントニコラスなんだよね。
Which is every day is a saint's day. And December the 6th is St. Nicholas Day. So if your name's Nicholas in France, you'll get a little present. Now the Dutch really celebrate this day. Not sure why. I'll have to look into it. But it's almost bigger than Christmas.
Right.
And you get presents, just like Christmas. There are special foods, including a chocolate letter.
Right.
My name's M. My name's Matthew, so my letter is M. And if your name begins with an I, you get less chocolate than me. M's a big letter. So my brother's name's Jason. So he got a J. My sister's name was Anna Rose, so an A. And I've got another brother, Peter, which is a P. I got the M.
M が一番
It's
こうチョコレー
big.
トが
そう。
チョコレートの部分が多い。
そうそうそうそう。
ちなみにこのセントニコラスをセレブレートしてる子はね、スロベキアだった。
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in Slovakia and Holland, they celebrate St. Nicholas quite fully. Now, have you noticed the similarity in the name? St. Nicholas, Santa Claus. Santa Claus, St. Nicholas.
でもそれはよく言うよね。
Because the imagery, the imagery is quite the same. If you look at a picture of St. Nicholas, not the actual real person, because I'm sure he's long dead, but the imagery of St. Nicholas, it's kind of similar to Santa Claus, isn't it? Okay, long beard, an old man, very kind, gives presents to kids. So, for some reason, I think they took the imagery of St. Nicholas, applied it to Christmas, but from memory, the original Santa Claus, the Christmas Day Santa Claus, was never in a red and white suit. It was always green and white.
そうね。レッドにしたのはコカ・コーラ。
Coca-Cola changed the colors of Christmas, of Santa Claus. So there's a lot of modern day interpretation of very old traditions.
面白いね。いろいろ変わってくるとね。
そうそう。
なかなか面白い。
Yes, so St. Nicholas Day, December the 5th, だよね。
そうそうそうそう、
December 5th was great fun in our family because you got presents, but you never knew who they were from. That's a big difference with Christmas. With Christmas, you always knew who it was from. Here is your present, Merry Christmas. You give presents to everybody. But in some, yeah, that's because in schools and stuff, present exchange そうだけども、the family tradition is you know who you get it from. This is from your mum and dad. This is from your Auntie Joan. This is for your from blah, 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 blah. Remember to say thank you to Auntie Joan and stuff like that. That's Christmas. But in St. Nicholas, the presents were always anonymous. You'd buy everybody a present and you'd wrap them, but you'd never know who gave it to you. So some of the presents were kind of funny and a little bit teasing, which is a very Dutch thing to do anyway. And sometimes your presents would be hidden somewhere in the house. And you'd get a little note and it's a quick treasure hunt. You have to go and you read the letter and go and find your present. So. And he would come to your door and throw candy through the door and then disappear. You'd never see him. But that's when you know that the celebrations were starting. St. Peter, not St. Peter, St. Nicholas or his helper, which was a black guy called Black Peter. St. Nicholas had a helper called Black Peter. And Black Peter the tradition was if you were a good kid, he would knock on your door and throw candy into your house and then run away. Or if you were a bad kid, he would take you and put you into his bag and take you away. So he was a bit scary.
この場合はあれだね。
ちょっと違う? Where's this? This is in what country?
Slovakia.
のやり方はちょっと違うか。
Children always receive 2 toys. A toy devil to show that they are something naughty, and the St. Nicholas toys to show that
they are also good. Oh, you get 2 toys to represent the good and the bad. Okay. なるほど。
Call potatoes, onions are the devils if you are naughty.
そうだ。
Do you have that?
Yes. St. Nicholas would leave you presents in your clogs of wooden shoes, the Dutch shoes. オランダの木の靴. He'd leave presents there or rocks if you were not good.
面白い。
So you'd leave your clogs out for St. Nicholas to leave your presents in.
Instead of stocking.
Instead of a stocking.
面白い。
そう。There was no tree. That's Christmas.
でもこのスロベキアはストッキングだね。
So St. Nicholas, we always looked forward to it. すごい楽しみにしてた。
じゃあクリスマスないの?
We also had Christmas, which was fun too. So we got 2 presents in December from everybody.
セントニコラスとクリスマス。
Christmas, that's right.
面白いね。
So yeah, there were 6 of us in our family, and we had to get presents for everybody.
Right.
And you got presents from everybody, and then we did it again on Christmas.
なるほど、面白いね。
めっちゃ楽しかった。
なるほど。
And I think now, even my brothers and sisters, they still carry on that tradition with their kids. But they do it together again. So they get together for St. Nicholas Day and also Christmas Day. やるよ。
そう、それでさ、なんかハロウィンからクリスマスの話になっちゃうんだけど、セントニコラスと最初チョコレートがあるじゃん。アルファベットの。あれが日本にないんだよね。すっごいシンプルなのにさ。
chocolate letter. そうだね。チョコレートのひらがな。でもひらがなとかさ、there's more than one piece. かも難しいじゃん。
まあつなげられるけど、意外とアルファベットチョコレートってないんだよね。なんかあったらいいのになって思って見てるけど、意外とない。
ね。
まあそんな感じです、今日はね。ハロウィンに関しては、もう先生方の方がすごく詳しいと思ったので、あえてこんなね、大したことないんですけど、なんかちょっとこうやって振り返ってみるのも面白いし、私個人的になんかやっぱり
好きじゃないでしょ。
いやいや、好きじゃないっていうか、
日本、正直言うとね、a couple things, and again, I don't mean to like pull on this awful face again. So I'm going to keep smiling. What is disappointing for me is that Halloween begins so early in Japan. It's like already September, and Halloween things are popping up in shops.
日本は早いからね。
We even decorated the classroom in the last week of September. I'm like, it's too early. And then Christmas starts in November.
もうハロウィン終わったらすぐ。
すぐ。Bye bye Halloween. Boom. It's Christmas. And so it's 2 months of Christmas. So it's 2 months of Christmas, 2 months of Halloween. So that's 4 months of a 12-month year that's been hijacked by American culture. I don't know. It doesn't kind of takes away the charm of Japanese culture and Japanese traditions. I love when Christmas is finished and then all the New Year stuff comes out. It's like, that's right, I'm in Japan. You know?
街中がね、結構そうなるよね。
そう。ちょっと残念 that 4 months are quite Americanized. 個人的にね。But if you love Christmas and if you love Halloween, that's fantastic. It's 4 months of you to have lots of fun, but rather long.
1ヶ月でいいか
な。1ヶ月でいいんですよ。
と思うけどね。私もそう思うけどね。
どうせ Halloween is at the end of October, start at the beginning of October. Christmas is at the end of December, start at the beginning of December. と思うよ。
これは個人的な
意見ね。
そう。
だってさ、the shops, they play Christmas music in November.
それはね、私すごく好きじゃないね。
そうなんですよ。I feel sorry for the people who work there.
でもなんかこう、もうルーティンなんじゃないかな。だってほら、もう、ハロウィンが終わると、クリスマスと同時にもうお正月の案内も一緒に来るじゃない。
だから、例えばね、ハロウィンのセッティングがすごい大変だと思うよ。で、ハロウィン finished. October 31st, the doors close. All the staff have to put away the Halloween stuff and set up the Christmas stuff. All on the same night. I'm like, give them a break. Get the Halloween stuff down. Have a week without anything. And if you need, to start early, then do it not in the one day.
でもそれだけ準備するからさ、やっぱ長く見てほしいっていう気持ちも出てくるんじゃない？頑張る以上さ。だって準備とか作るんだってすごく大変なのに。
I think the thinking is if we wait another week, all our customers will go to the shop next door where they're all like up.
なんかもうちょっとこう、 今みたいにこう4ヶ月そのイベントになっちゃうっていうのも、あえて言われるとね。まあでもほら、なんか楽しいじゃない。あーっていう。多分ね。で、私も、私多分どっちかっていうとめんどくさいから。
めんどくさい。
いや、それに、すいません。もうそれに、めんどくさくなって、こういう先生がいるとあれなんだけどね。ついついね。うん。でもやっぱ子供たちがでもコスチューム着たりすると可愛いんだよね。
うん。And some of the mums, それ。The mums go out of their way to prepare pretty amazing costumes. Now, some of the mums love it, and that's fine. But I also know, like, some kids, they come with a new costume every day for the whole Halloween week. So mum has to prepare 5 costumes. And I'm like, Mum, just prepare 1. But if the mum goes, that's all right, I like doing it, no problem. But sometimes the kids demand it.
Right.
Especially the girls. I need a new princess dress every day. And so that's too much pressure on the mums.
今結構買いやすいからね。
買いやすいね。
昔みたいに作んなくてもいいものがすごくあるしね。
There was one kid in the preschool that I used to work at previously, and he used to come with the most amazing costumes. And he'd have like he'd have this Arabian look with a turban and a white kind of thing, and Aladdin mitai, and he'd have this camel. It looked as if he was riding a camel, and the legs would be the camel's legs, and the arms were out here, and so he was riding he had this costume of him being some Arabian character riding a camel. すっごかった。
すごいね。仮装大会みたいな感じで、コンペティションみたいになってね。そうね。でもうちの娘たちも言うもんね。
言うよ。
あれが欲しい、これが欲しいってね。でもなんかすぐ大きくなっちゃうからさ。ね。いやでも。まあでも楽しみましょう。
はい。楽しみしましょう。
なんか私ほら、絵描くのが好きだからさ、こうスケルトンにこうデコレーションしたいとかいうのをすごく無償にしたい今。なんかやろうかな。そういうのも
The parties themselves are not too bad. The parties are quite fun. Some good ideas. Good arts and crafts. Haunted house I'm not really fond of. But
いや、あなたの前のプリスクールのホーンテッドハウスは
めっちゃ怖かった。
めっちゃ怖いけど、まあいい経験。
the previous school.
本当に怖いからさ、中学生とか
中学生 were like,
いいですっていうね、no thank you みたいな感じだった。
They remember, and they're like, we're not coming back to your party.
うちの娘も相当泣いたもんね。大声出したもんね。
そう。
いや、でも、なんか久しぶりにさ、私、The Day of the Dead の話になったじゃん、今日ハロウィーンをやるって。で、なんかこう、Google とかで調べて、すごくカラフルなさ、スカルとかスケルトンとか、あとその、ガテマラのこのカイトとかさ、すっごいビビッドにカラフルな、あれを見たら、ちょっと感動した。感動したっていうか、すごくそっちになんかしたくなってきた。
It's fantastic.
はい。ということで。
Thank you very much for joining us.
ありがとうございました。
And I imagine we're going to be here next Thursday. I don't have the schedule with me, but
Yes, 多分大丈夫だと思う。Maybe. Today's 6th かな。
Today's the 6th. So next week, the 13th. Yeah, I think maybe I'll have to check the schedule. Do I have anything?
またLINE の方でお伝えしたいと思います。
Thank you very much.
はい、ありがとうございました。
Thank you. Good night. いや
私、カラフルなやつ。
すごいいいね。
買いたいな。
すごい。
ビビッドな。
Right. So for our summer program, we studied with the elementary school kids. We visited New Zealand and Mexico. And so, we looked at that festival and also made masks for the kids. すごく面白かったよ。
ね。そのやつがいいな。
ね。Yeah, amazing.
なんかいろんな要素を入れていろいろ話をしたいよね。これってあれだよとかさ。ね。ありがとうございます。ちょっと私、でもこれ、ニューバージョン欲しいな。でも、よくない ?97 年の本を持ってるって。
すごい。Thank you. Bye bye.